I got home tonight after my 12-hour shift, and I immediately booted up Shin Megami Tensei, grinded for like, what was it, 45 minutes, an hour, doing all of that stuff, preparing for my inevitable super epic anime showdown with my waifu, Goddess Nua, right? So I can actually beat this boss and move on with the game, right? And then I shifted over to Super Mario Bros. Wonder and played that for way too long. Like, I don't have time to play all these games, guys. But I'm doing it like I'm sitting here playing video games when I really need to be working on books. I'm putting off my actual adult responsibilities and not putting out new content because these games are so good. Like, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I've been looking forward to coming back all week because this is a game I kind of blasted through last weekend, immediately declared a Game of the Year contender and one of the best 2D Mario games ever made. And I've seen a handful of people, right, kind of agree with me. I don't know if anybody's like really noticed this yet, but Super Mario Bros. Wonder has almost certainly eclipsed Spider-Man 2 in popularity, right? Like a lot of people are saying that Spider-Man 2 has been kicked out of like the Game of the Year nominations for 2023 in favor of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I would like to go one step further than that. I would like to say that Super Mario Bros. Wonder is officially, I think, probably in the running for Game of the Year, right? So that means instead of like Tears of the Kingdom versus Baldur's Gate 3 or whatever people were trying to push, right? I've seen people push like Pizza Tower and and like Hi-Fi Rush or Starfield, which is laughable. Instead of like any of that crap, it's going to be Zelda versus Mario, the way it should be, right? And I am like very taken aback, very pleasantly surprised by how well received this game is because I love the game. I'm kind of shocked at how often how much mileage I've got out of like replaying stages over and over and over again. Like the stages I replayed today were all from World 1, right? Like I didn't get some of the secret exits. I didn't even know like there were secret exits in a World 1 a lot of times. So I was struggling a little bit figuring out like, okay, what I want to do. Like, there's a lot of stuff to do in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. That's something people don't talk about. Is that like you have the purple coins, you have the secret exits, you have like the hidden levels, you have like collecting all the badges, getting the top of the flagpole in every stage. Like, it's very much like 3D World in that respect, where you actually do have a lot of replay value out of playing Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and it is laughable to me the sheer amount of people, boomers, people like Sean Malmstrom, Mike Matei, and their audience who are trying to come out and say that Super Mario Bros. Wonder cannot compete with the real Mario game. Super Mario Bros. 3. That seems to be like the justification for downplaying Super Mario Bros. Wonder at this point is that like the game is sold well, obviously. It's hugely critically acclaimed. Everyone loves it. Everyone's playing it. It's a big deal, right? It is objectively a success, right? But you do still have a few bitter old people, right? Who are coming out trying to say that like, oh, Super Mario Bros. 3 is better because that's the best Mario game ever made, right? That's their justification for it. And first of all, no, it's not. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is far better than Super Mario Bros. 3. And second of all, like, why exactly the fact that you had to bring up Super Mario Bros. 3, generally considered the best 2D Mario game of all time, in order to downplay Super Mario Bros. Wonder, right? The fact that you had to do that, it just goes to show you how desperate you were to try and convince as many people as possible that Super Mario Bros. Wonder was a bad game. Like, it's kind of crazy the lengths these people will go to if you're like paying attention to them, which I think most people aren't. I think most people like who care are actively like playing the game and enjoying it, and I'm doing that too, right? But like seeing Mike Matei play the game, get the elephant power up, right? Complain about it, and then get the fire flower. Oh, now I'm the real Mario. Like, how exactly is the elephant a invalid Mario power-up? Like, what exactly is like cringy about it, right? Like there's nothing weird about the elephant. I like the elephant, right? Like why exactly would I be upset at the elephant for existing, all right? Like what kind of complaint is that? Like you can't even argue that like, well, Mario doesn't turn into animals because he does. You know, Super Mario Bros. 3, this has been established for a long time, bro. Like it's just it really is a group of people doing anything they can, literally anything, to talk down to this game. Right? Like that Mike Matei stream in particular was like really unhinged, by the way, where like he had to scream at his audience like, "Oh, I don't normally play new games, but this one came out and I knew people would be harassing me about it if I didn't play it today." Like, who just say you wanted to play the game? What's the big deal, really? Who cares what your audience wants? It's like, what exactly are you so angry about? You know, like I got the same vibe from like the boomer coverage of Tears of the Kingdom, where like the critiques of this like masterpiece of a game basically amounted to like, well, it's not exactly like the NES Zeldas, right? And like even now, that's kind of the thing that people say, like, oh, old Zelda is dead. Nintendo killed it. Like we'll never get like classic Zelda games ever again, right? You know, completely ignoring all of the positive aspects that Tears of the Kingdom has, right? You know, Mike Matei specifically said that like it's too much of a departure from classic Zelda games, but this guy is a big fan of Zelda too. All right, Majora's Mask has gone on to be a cult classic. You know, like the fact that like someone who like so religiously defends like Zelda 2, and yeah, you know, I like Zelda 2 as well, right? But like you have to understand, like Zelda 2 is like the same kind of thing. You know, like it is unreasonable to assume that a video game franchise is going to stay the exact same for like 35 years or whatever, right? Like, why? What exactly are you expecting? Do you expect them to keep putting out ROM hacks of the original game? Like, do you just want rehashes all the time? Like, it almost seems like you do. Like, it feels almost like. Actually, it does feel this way. It feels like no matter what Nintendo does, these kinds of people are going to complain, right? It is laughable. It's ridiculous, right? But we're seeing this all the time. And I think in the case of Super Mario Bros. Wonder, these guys were really blindsided by the popularity and success of the game. Like they released predictions saying it would bomb. They were saying it was underwhelming. Like, oh, I'm an expert on Mario, and I know that this game is going to be underwhelming. But it turned out to be the best ever made, right? Like, and like what's more, it feels like a lot of these people haven't actually spent the time to play through this game properly, right? You know, if people are seriously like bringing up allegations of the game not being replayable enough, like they clearly haven't played it at all. You know what I mean? Like I've played several of these levels like several times already. You know, Piranha Plants on Parade, I played 2 or 3 times today trying to get the secret exit, right? Like, I was. There are lots of reasons to replay these stages. They are all really, really good. Right? Like, I'm not kidding when I say this is one of the best 2D platformers of all time, if not the greatest. All right? Like, it's shocking to me just how good this game is. And it really does feel like even now, the game is getting downplayed by people who claim they love this stuff, you know? Like people who just will not admit that like Super Mario Bros. 3 is not always going to be the all-time GOAT. You know, like I definitely don't want to disrespect Super Mario Bros. 3, right? Like it's a lot like how I felt with like New Super Mario Bros., right? Where a lot of people call those games bad, and like I just really really liked them, and like I don't want to like disrespect Super Mario Bros. 3. Like it's such a innovative classic game, not just for the Mario franchise, but for like Nintendo as a whole. It is iconic for a good reason. It's not my personal favorite. Like I didn't grow up with it at all actually, but like I understand why so many people are attached to it. Like it is a special game to a lot of people. But like you can't simply just reject everything else in the franchise for like arbitrary reasons, like Sean Malmstrom is known to do. right? Like Super Mario 64, I'm much more attached than Super Mario Bros. 3, right? Yeah, that game is an early 3D title on the N64, but it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I love it. I've played it like dozens of times. Like I've played through it dozens of times, right? Like I love, love, love that game. Like Ocarina, love, right? Like there are so many great games that I just feel like these people just ignore for arbitrary reasons, and it is it's getting embarrassing going into the new decade. Well, going into we're like 3 years in, almost 4 years into the 20s already, right? And like it does feel like a lot of these guys are like running out of steam. Like a decade ago, people would take Darkside Phil super seriously when he criticized Nintendo, and now like nobody even watches his streams. Like that's the trend. Like another 10 years from now, like none of these guys are gonna be relevant. Like not a single one of them. I would argue Sean Malmstrom in particular is already not relevant. Like, is anybody gonna remember who Mike Matei is 10 years from now? Like, is DSP even going to be still alive? It's like there are really very real, like, concerns about this, right? Like, what is the e-celebrity scene going to look like 10 years from now, right? What is the culture going to be like? Like, I can pretty much guarantee you that, like, the old the old school like methods of like downplaying Nintendo games aren't gonna work anymore. Like we're seeing this now with the Smash tournament stuff, where like nobody's really taking them seriously. Nobody really like everyone hates like the Smash tournament scene, right? Like I I don't see anybody like outside of like the people who want to make money off of playing tournaments upset about like Nintendo's new guidelines, right? Like I am getting very upset. I am very upset at the current state of things. Well, I don't see like I don't see the current state of things like lasting for very long. Like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, should have been way more hype when it was first shown off. Like when people saw a big new 2D Mario game, they should have gotten excited, right? But it really felt like everybody was like just ignoring it up until it came out, right before it came out. Same with Tears of the Kingdom. Like it's so weird seeing like Starfield and like Baldur's Gate 3 and like Street Fighter 6 get all this enthusiasm like before release. Like people are talking about the betas and like the gameplay footage and the trailers, and when you compare it to like the Nintendo games, like all anybody can do is just say how bad they're gonna be, right? Like, and it's just so obnoxious. It really is. I hope more people like think more critically about this stuff going forward and understand that Nintendo is simply better than the rest of the industry.